Isn't that a beautiful sight, having that motor in there? A couple things I want to talk about. One, it really sucks when you kind of start a project and you shut it down and don't get at it for a couple of months. And then you get back at it, and then you gotta remember where everything went. Like the steering and air hoses and fuel hoses and electrical lines and all that stuff. That's gonna be taking a little time. But there was a couple things we were concerned about in this truck, and we knew that putting the motor. One, we figured we'd have to move those back engine mounts back because the engine's longer. We understood that. And they made it so that you could do that, so we moved those. The next thing that we were a little concerned about, we knew about it, is this drive line. Yeah, you're probably wondering, what do you mean? What's the problem with the drive line? Hook it up. Well, since the engine's longer and the transmission is longer than a 10-speed, that means the drive line on this truck is going to be way too long. So I'll slide underneath here and I'll show you what we're talking about. Kind of a inconvenience, but don't worry, we'll get it figured out. We always do. And I have my method of cutting drive lines and welding them together because I've done it a few times. But let's slide underneath here. Okay. So here's the drive line. Goes underneath, goes over here. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that's gonna work. It's a bit long, huh? So that being said, we got two options. Option A, let me slide underneath here, that's not option A, but option A, we take that drive line, we measure from the yoke on the transmission to someplace on the other end of the drive line, and then figure out what the distance we need to do, subtract the amount of tubing that needs to be cut off, put it on the lathe, cut the tubing off, weld the yoke back on the tubing, and stick it back on. Option B is that red Peterbilt. There's a very small chance, and I don't know if it's going to work, but that drive line might actually fit on this truck. And we just undo it and bolt it up. So we got to take some measurements on this thing, go out there, try it, see how that is measured up, and if it's about the same length, we can take that off, put it on this one, and if it hooks up, sweet! So let's go grab a tape measure and kind of figure this out. Hi, Nick. He's such a hard worker. What an overachiever. You know, I think it deserves like Employee of the Month. I had it last month, so you can have it this month. So I need to measure. I think what I'll do is, I think I'll measure from this 55.5, roughly, keyword roughly. The whole length, we might have to try from the axle and all the way to the transmission, but for right now, there we go. We'll try that. Let's go out to the red truck and see what this one measures out at. We might have to do a couple different measurements to make sure it's correct, but it would be sweet if I wouldn't have to have the drive line off and cut it up and weld on it, because that's going to take me some time. And I'm not, to be honest, I'm not very fast at that kind of stuff. I can do it, just not fast at it. All right. By the way, anybody need parts? Like a tag axle, like lift axle, like axles, cab. When we're done with this, hit us up. All right, let's see. All right, I need to measure. It's quite a bit shorter on this one. What is this? Well, that's 38 to there. I don't know. I think this is going to be a two-man job. We'll have to have Nick hold on the axle yoke and then to the very end of the drive line, and we'll do it on the other truck, and then we'll see if it's the right length. But I don't think, judging by that, I don't think we can make that happen. Bummer. Maybe. We won't know until we actually get some good measurements. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cut the drive line. We quickly ran out there and measured from the axle yoke to the end of the drive line, and it was 94 3/4. And this one here is 107.5. And that first drive line is 55.5, and that other one is about 42.5. So yeah, not gonna happen. So what I gotta do is pull the yoke right here apart. They got some caps, take the carrier bearing off, and then I could take it over and cut it on the lathe and get that figured out. But before I do any of that, I gotta figure out where do I need to cut that drive line and get it matched up with the transmission yoke. And I gotta do some planning, some figuring, and some marking with markers. And then I'll have a better understanding what I gotta do. So yeah, I've done it before, the 9370 Peterbilt. Cut that drive line because we didn't have the correct drive line for that. And it's been working great. I've cut three pickup drive lines, and then another grain truck drive line. So I've done a few. Do I balance them? Not well, but I do my best. And I know there's a poor man method of balancing drive lines. If you want, you can drill a hole in the drive line next to the yoke, fill it with a little bit of oil, and then weld that back up. And then as you're driving it, the oil will spin around inside and it will fling to the side of the drive line and actually balance it. Now, will that do a great job? Is it the right way to do it? No. Am I gonna do it? No. No, I think I'm gonna be fine without it. As you can tell, I've got a mark right here. Center of the universal joint to right there. That's where I want the center of the universal joint. Then what I got to figure out is the center of this universal joint to the yoke where I cut it off, and I got to make that cut back here. So technically, somewhere back here, I'm going to cut it off. And if I had to say, taking off about 5 3/4 inches. See how that goes. So right here is the center of that. See how that yoke? So I want to make sure that we have the center figured out on the drive line right here, and I need to move the center of this to here. So then I measure roughly to here to the center, and it's going to be like to that. So technically I need to cut this off right here and remove that section. Take that yoke and weld it here. Something like that. Got it? Sweet. So now we got to remove the yoke. And best way to do this part is grab a strap. Okay. And we'll support the back part of the drive line. Get this to there. So something like that. Now, got to remove the caps to the universal joint, and then take the carrier bearing off and pop it down. There we go. Whoa, this baby's got some heavy weight to it. Beautiful. Ooh, that baby's heavy. Oh my goodness. Crazy how heavy that thing is.
Well, now we got the engine in, and Lang Arms is working on the drive shaft. It's time we get the favorite part of the engine in here too. We all love it, the turbocharger. So the original turbocharger, it had a lot of time on it. It still worked, but I wouldn't say it was in optimum condition. And as we've been working with PDI Diesel, they've been real great. And we got those injectors put in this baby, and we got the harmonic balance from them put in too. And PDI's like, well, you got to get a turbo. So we said, all right, what do you got? And they set us up with one. So here is our turbo going in this truck. Haven't even taken it out of the bag yet. Let's do that. Oh, look at that right there. Look at those veins. Oh, don't run it dry. That's right. Stop spinning it. So as many of you are probably wondering, this is the Big Boss. The Big Boss. Let's grab the old one. Let's compare them side by side. All right. Seeing some subtle differences already. The exhaust chamber is smaller on the Big Boss, but looking at the back side here, I should get some measurements. This looks bigger here. Yeah, let's get something. Let's check these measurements. So we're gonna go off millimeters. I'm just eyeballing this because I can't fit this caliper in there. So I'm thinking we're about 65 millimeter on the old compressor, and the new Big Boss. Just looking down, judging here. Oh, good 70. So about 5 millimeter larger. It's billet machined. They say this turbocharger is rated for 650 to 700 and some horsepower. So obviously I don't think we're gonna crank this 3406B that high, but we will definitely be pumping more than we did before. That's an old Cat one. But the inlet actually looks pretty good. I mean, honestly, could save that for a rainy day, but that's gonna be our workhorse from here on out. Just for kicks and giggles, let's do the exhaust side. So old turbo is roughly 80 millimeter. Yeah, it could be 80 millimeter. And this one is 85, I think, 86. So both of them are bigger. So definitely a larger impeller on both sides of the compressor and the exhaust side. And yeah, we're good to go. All right, let's see. This is gonna be, maybe if I climb over the top of the engine, I don't know if it matters which side the nut goes on. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. And
It's not going anywhere.
nope. There we go. All right. There we go. Big Boss is on. Oh, that looks good, doesn't it? Polished aluminum. That's billet machined aluminum, which means they take a big block of aluminum and they put it in a CNC machine, some type of end mill, whatever it may be, and the machine runs around and cuts out of one block of aluminum this whole housing. Isn't that cool? And when you do that, your tolerances are way more accurate. You're able to do some pretty cool things, like see how they opened all this up in here? That's, I'm sure, to do with the fluid dynamics of the air as it comes in. It's just, maybe it's sound, noise control, I don't know. There's a lot goes into it. I'm sure one of you guys knows, and you'll probably let me know in the comments, which I would love, actually. I'll wait for that comment. I'll look for it on why they do that compared to the old style, which is right here. I'm sure I could just talk to my buddies at PDI and they'd explain to me why. See how it's just sloped in gradually, which is what you would think you would do. And then on these newer ones, they machine all that out and have cavity in there. So anyways, there's a reason for that. It could be cooling, I don't know. But with all that, she looks good. I just gotta get the orientation figured out, tighten up some stuff here, and then the process of exhaust downpipe and intake. And we have some other goodies that are going on soon, so stay tuned.
Now, when you're doing drive lines, you want to make sure whatever the yoke position is, they have to be in line with each other. They cannot be cockeyed because you're going to have a vibration, you're going to tear up U-joints, bad deal. So what I did is I marked, see that little white line on here? You see that white line? I know that those two go in line with each other. Now, when I work on the other side and cut that, I will make a little mark on the tube on that side, and then I'll know exactly where it needs to be, and then when I weld it up, I will get it lined up. Got it? Okay, now I gotta take that universal joint off. Fun. Then I gotta use this thing. I love this thing. Wow, that baby was on there. Okay. You're probably wondering, why did I take it off? Because I had to. All right, let's get this thing set up. Take that off, do a couple things, yeah. I always get nervous when I have to cut drive lines because if I don't measure it out correctly...
No, stop. Drive shaft.
Drive line.
Shaft.
Shaft. It's always nerve-wracking when I have to cut the drive shaft because if you cut it too short, yeah, bad day. Basically what I got to do here, I got 2 marks here, if you can look. This mark is where the center of the universal joint on the transmission yoke, that's where that mark is. So I need to move this part here to that part right there. So what I did is I measured from the center of this bolt, I stuck a rod and lined it up just roughly where I need to be. And then I measured from the rod over to the center of the weld, because that's where the center of it's going to be. And then I took that measurement and I moved it over here like this, because I'm basically taking this point, setting it line here, and then I got to go over, and that's where I need to cut it. So what I'll do is I'll cut this one off first, and then I will take the drive line, drive shaft. I get those two mixed up. I don't know why. Just old habits, I guess. Drive shaft. And then I'll take the yoke off and cut that part and make it go. Because my drive shaft is... Shut up, Nick. You suck. Okay, because my drive shaft is so long, I'm just doing that because of Nick. Anyways, I keep getting this mixed up. Drive line and drive shaft. My drive shaft is too long for the lathe. It sticks out. So what I'll do is I'll use that thing, put a bunch of grease in it, because I don't have the right shims to make this so that it doesn't flop. And it'll just kind of hold it, turn it on a very low speed, and then I'll take a grinder and I'll sit here and just slowly grind it as it's spinning to get that cut. I know, not the ideal way to do it, but it's the way to do it for me, because my lathe isn't long enough. Wish it was. That'd be sweet. And this is out of grease. Let me go get some more grease. I think that'll work. And then what I'll do is I'll take a marker, and on the line that I need to cut, as it's spinning, I'll just slightly mark that line so I have a nice perfect spot to cut on. And then I gotta get a grinder and a blade, some eye protection, and just take it nice and slow and steady. And cut it. But before I cut it, I have to draw a line, so I know exactly where that yoke's gotta be when I weld it back. And if I don't do that, it won't be a fun day. Let's not have a fun day. Let's have a great day. Okay, good deal. I'm getting excited, but I think I'm gonna go eat because it's a little bit past noon. Come back here, cut this up, weld it together, and make it happen. Yeah, should be good.
I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to run the downpipe to the original exhaust. What they did here is they necked down to 4-inch, or I should say, they went from 4-inch off the old turbo, off that old Cummins or Cat that was in here, and then necked it up to 5-inch out the back. Well, we're doing 5 all the way now because obviously we have a larger engine, larger turbo. Here's the old downpipe that came off the old 378, and it went down, dropped up, went under the cab, and then up the exhaust out of the one side. Well, this one goes down, drops down below, and does dual twin stacks up each side. And I'm going to keep that same flow, but I got to get from there to down there. So let's get that adapter off, and then let's figure out how we're going to go from there up. Shouldn't be that difficult, just going to take some fitting, some welding, maybe some flexible pipe. I've got this nice chrome stack here off an old truck, that's 5-inch. That can be a good splice. Found an elbow, nice sweep, real big one. What I might end up doing is just slicing this in the center here, taking this top flange with the exhaust EGT gauge or sender, putting it there, and then either doing flexible stainless down to right here, which would be this end, put that down there, and then switch over and go out the back. So let's go underneath, let's take a look, and let's see if I can get this apart, because, well, you know, exhaust pipe, everything's tight, and it's gonna take a little bit of beating and smashing and chiseling to get it apart, but we'll get it. I should have brought my earplugs. Woo! Oh, I saw it move. That wasn't as bad as I thought. There we go. There's the adapter. 5-inch, 4-inch. At least they went 5 all the way back. That's nice that I don't have to replace all this in. Oh, all right. Now, let's get some measurements and figure out how to do this. Can put the angle on twist and go right up to the turbo. That would be sweet. First thing, let's try to get these heat shields off this downpipe. Oh, that one came off easy. Good. Cool. I thought for sure these were going to give me a hard time. Things are great today. Yeah, I feel good. You guys feel good too. Now, it'd be nice to go new elbows. We have a flange that I could get. That means I'd have to also weld and tap and put a port here for the EGT sender. I'd like to just reuse all this. It's not rotted out by any means, and it's going to look like that regardless. So I think I'm going to try first where this weld is, where they had welded it. We'll cut that there, clean these edges up, and just see about possibly putting these on either the top and the bottom and putting an extension in the middle. I think that's going to be the easiest route. There we go. It's all together, right there, up and around. I know. If you guys ever look at the trucks PDI makes, yeah, I know guys are shaking their heads right now. But the cost of stainless is outrageous, and there's still a lot of life left in this. It's all going to turn brown eventually too, and it's not a show truck. And plus, I'll put the hood down. You guys will never know. It'll keep the exhaust flowing, so we're good, and it's replaceable down the road.
So far it turned out pretty good. Took the torch, heated the tube so it expands it out a little bit so I can put the yoke in. And then I just set the stand right here next to the yoke and just slowly spun it just to see if the yoke was doing this at all. And then they have the center, live center hole right here when you're adjusting them and so forth. And as it's spinning, it was pretty true and everything looks fairly decent. It's not probably to the best way to do it, but here's the thing. This is the piece that I took out. You see how much shorter that is? If you look at this mark right there, see a little white mark? That is where the center of the universal joint is on the transmission. If you look, that's lined up. Now, what I need to do is, I guess I need to weld this thing up. Bring the welder over here and put a nice bead on it. Let it cool, clean it up a little bit. And then we have a slight problem. The yoke on this is about 7.5 inches from outside to outside, okay? The yoke on the transmission is 7 inches. So I think what we're gonna have to do is I went in town, talked to the parts stores. Does not look like I can get a universal joint that has 7.5 by 7 to convert the two together. So I think we'll take the yoke off of the transmission, go to a truck shop, and see if we can get the yoke that'll match that. Because everything on this truck is a bigger drive line, universal joints than, or drive shaft, my goodness, I gotta get out of the habit. Drive shaft, bigger universal joints on this truck than the other truck. Got it? Okay, makes sense. And I think we are good. I like it. Let's bring the welder over here. When you're doing stuff, you make a mess. Look at that mess. Let's weld it up. Okay, good, awesome. I hope it's the right length. Keyword hope. Never knew. But I think I got it right, I hope. You can tell the certainty in my voice. You sure I got it right, Nick?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a drive line.
Okay, got it. You got it, Nick. Thanks.
So next step, I'm gonna get this turbo lubed. So I'll put the down port on for the oil, but the pressure on the top, you can't put that on yet. Reading their manual, it makes sense. So you take this, and you squirt some oil on the top while you're spinning the vanes. Let it spin a bunch, kind of just fill it up with oil, get it all lubed up, then put the line on. That way the turbo's ready to go when you first start the engine. So, important step. Better do it. Don't want to mess those bearings up. Let's take care of that. Okay, here's some oil. Put it in the port. Squirt some in there. Spin the vanes. Or the impeller. Or the turbine. Or the compressor. Or the shaft. I don't know what you call it. Spin it the other way. There we go. I'm just twisting my fingers right now. My one hand right here. Oil slowly bubbling down in there. There we go. A lot of smoke coming up on this truck. You guys want to see that?
Nothing to see here.
Do I need to call the fire department?
Oh, you're good.
Do we need the fire tamer?
Maybe.
On Dad's new water truck? I am really curious what's going on down there. I mean, normal people would be like, we've got a fire and we should do something about that.
It's all good.
I think I'm just going to watch it for a bit.
Don't worry about it.
Let's step back a minute, take a closer look at, or more in perspective, what's going on here. Huh. All right.
We just started it up. It's running.
I'm just going to just let that just keep doing what it's doing. Not my problem. A weird problem. This old turbo, there's a flange I need off of it. It is really stuck in here. Hasn't been moved in a long time. 1990 Peterbilt, or that's the original turbo, which I doubt it is, but I gotta get that thing off. There we go, right there, this guy. So I got it in the vise. We're gonna put the monster jaws on it. I'm gonna see if I can turn it I've been hammering on it, and I just don't want to break that aluminum. But then I'm sunk, and I have to try to find a new one. Let's see if I can get this apart with this guy. If I can work it back and forth. Oh, well, that's actually kind of loose. You guys still with me? It's in the drawer. Oh, it's so close. All right, well, I'm gonna try using the weight of the turbo to see if I can get it to fall off by clamping this, but I just don't want to break this aluminum. If I break that, I'm sunk. I already busted this tab, which I can make a new one of those. That's not a problem, but wow. Oh, I think it's going. That was a genius idea, guys. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's some butter. There we go. There we go. Got it. Oh, thanks, guys. I'm glad you recommended that. Now, this has to go
This one?
right there.
So we got to change the yoke on this thing, and it's been fighting me for like an hour or so.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. And
That's a yoke. That's a yoke line.
I'll let Nick decide what he thinks of this thing. It's a little hot. I'm going to toss it out.
What's it called?
It's a little hot.
No, it's called a yoke line, not a yoke shaft.
A yoke shaft or a yoke line?
Yoke line.
Now, is this the yellow yoke? Easy side up?
Yes.
Okay. This thing's pretty... Well, we might be able to use it again. I'll see. But anyways, what do you guys think? A little hot? Yeah. You should go check it out.
Fall on you. Uh-huh.
Channel lock or something. Okay.
And
This thing and slide it out.
oh, that's a different color than that was before. Well, we'll get a new output shaft seal. Needed one anyways. Put a new one on it. Not a big deal, but I see his job was a little harder than mine.